Hi everybody and welcome. Today let's take a look at the Uno Synth Pro X from IK Multimedia. Thanks. So the Uno Synth Pro X is the next in line of the Uno Synths. And if you follow my channel, you've probably seen we've covered the original Uno Synth and also the Uno Synth Pro. So today let's take a look at what the Uno Synth Pro X offers, and also let's compare it with the older models. Now make sure you watch my video until the end, because we are going to talk about the pros and also the cons. And I'm going to show you how you can create some basic patches with the Uno Synth Pro X. Quick disclaimer, IK sent me the Uno Synth Pro X, but they got no say over what I say or what I do in the video. Let's take the tour. Right, so the Uno Synth Pro X is an analog synthesizer, obviously with digital controls, which makes this more convenient to work with. Before we dive any deeper into the features, let's quickly go over the layout of the Uno Synth Pro X. First out we have the oscillator section with the wave morphing control. And you can switch between the different oscillators like this. Then we have dual filters. There's an OTA and an SSI based filter. The first filter being a little bit more soft, and the second filter can give you those really epic screams. So let's try the first filter. And the second filter. Now I activate 4-pole for the second filter. And let's add some resonance. And we can also set the first filter into high pass mode. So with the most extreme resonance, filter 1 and filter 2. Having dual filters on a synth is really great if you want to create the growl basses and vowel sounds. Then we have the envelopes, the filter envelope and the amplifier envelope. And there's also a third envelope. Below the envelopes we have the LFOs. There's 2 LFOs in Uno Synth Pro X. And then we have the effects. You have 3 available effect slots, M for modulation, D for delays, and finally R for reverb. Now below the sound design section we have a small little keybed, 1 octave keyboard. And below that is the 64-step sequencer, so you have 16 steps times 4 pages. To the top right we have a small but very crisp screen for controlling the different parameters of the Uno Synth Pro. And below the screen we have the global controls to manage presets, settings, etc. Now if you take a look here below many of the knobs and buttons on the Uno Synth Pro X, you can see there's an additional parameter to many of these knobs and buttons. If we take a look at the oscillator here, we have ring 2, which is ring modulation to oscillator 2. And below the tuning you have FM and noise. And to access those extra features you hold the shift key. You can see that by this little bracket below, shift. So you can hold shift, and if you move the level, you will now control the noise. To the right of the screen we have the important data encoder, which is used to things like selecting different presets, loading presets. Now many of the features and functionality is already available directly from the user interface and the different knobs and buttons of the Uno Synth Pro X, but sometimes you need to go deeper into submenus to select things like reverb type or delay types. So that's when you use the data knob or the data encoder. So we can go back here and select the type and change the reverb type from play to maybe Shimmer Reverb. Right, so how about we start creating some sounds from scratch with the Uno Synth Pro. So by default we have one oscillator active. Now when crafting the sound I like to have an arpeggio in the background so we don't have to push a button like this all the time. So let's record a sequence, let's hold record and press play. And it's gonna get boring with just 16 steps, so let's hold shift and activate a second page. So now we will have 32 steps, and we can select the pages by just pressing the page like this. So let's record the second page. And if we make a mistake we can always press the clear button. So let's use the clear and press the second page. So we clear that page. Now let's press record again. And let's deactivate and just have this play in the background. Now we can choose either to use one filter or two filters. So let's maybe use the first filter here. Just drag down the cutoff a little bit. And increase how much the envelope will affect the cutoff. Maybe we can pitch this oscillator 12 tones up. Now after the filter let's go to the envelope and make some adjustments to the filter and the amplifier envelope. So with the filter button unlit it's going to be the filter controls, and if we have the filter button lit it will be the amplifier controls. So let's control the filter. Now let's maybe add a second oscillator, so we go to oscillator 2 and increase the volume. So maybe also pitch the second oscillator 12 semitones. Add a little bit of delay with the amount. And some reverb. So there we have a simple little plug sound. So now we can go ahead here and further make more intricate changes to this sound. Maybe go into the modulation matrix and add something. So let's activate the source. And now we can select the source. By default it's set to velocity. Maybe the LFO 1. To control, let's see, the destination. We can control oscillator 2 tuning. And then we can add the amount. And of course you can also feed CV from your other modular gear into the Uno Synth Pro. Now another little trick here is to make use of the shift button to control modulation amount, delay amount and the reverb amount at the same time. Because that's often like, aside from the filter, the things that you want to control in real time when performing with the synthesizer. Or at least that's the parameters that I often make use of when I perform with the synth. So let's press play, hold down the shift and move the modulation amount, delay amount and the reverb amount to perform a little bit. Let's try the second filter instead, so let's open up the first one full. Right, so that's basically all the controls that you need to create a little sound and perform with the Uno Synth Pro. Yeah, so you can do some really over-the-top sound design with a dual filter synthesizer like Uno Synth Pro X. Right, so how does the Uno Synth Pro X compare to the older Uno Synths? Well, I don't know about you, but personally I prefer to have a per knob design on the synths. So we can instantly control the oscillators, filters, envelopes and effects. And that's exactly what we can do here on the Uno Synth Pro X. So that's definitely one of the benefits. While on the older Uno Synths you have to select the different pages like filter, LFO and effects to control those specific parameters. So it's obviously gonna be much quicker to dial in your sounds on the Uno Synth Pro X compared to the older models. Okay, so let's finally talk about the pros and cons. Pros is definitely that we have this per function knob architecture, so it's much faster to dial in the sounds. Another pro is the effects. I feel that the effect sounds really good on the Uno Synth Pro X. It's always great to have a Shimmer Reverb also built in, so we don't need to connect this to like an external effects pedal. Now regarding build quality, I feel that the Uno Synth Pro X feels quite sturdy. It's obviously mostly plastic and the buttons here are made of some kind of wobbly rubber material. That said, I never felt that the buttons gave in on me when I was sound designing with the Uno Synth Pro X. Now the knobs on the Uno Synth Pro X are obviously changed from the older Uno Synth Pro and the original Uno Synth Pro, but I feel that they feel more solid and has a great resistance to them when you turn them. So all in all, I feel it's a great sturdy design on the Uno Synth Pro X. This sounds like a more expensive synthesizer in my opinion, because the raw oscillators has really ballsy sound to them, and the overdrive can do magical things with the sounds in combination with the filters. And it's great that it's a dual filter design, so you can create more intricate and more interesting sounds. Right, so what about the cons regarding the Uno Synth Pro X? We talked about the per knob design, and yeah, you can control both the filters at the same time, but you only have 3 knobs for adjusting the oscillators. Maybe I want to adjust the tuning of just oscillator 2 or just oscillator 3, but then we have to push this little button. But it's just a nitpicky little difference, because I understand that the real estate is already occupied with other button functionalities. And I mean, the most common things that you adjust when performing with the synth is obviously the filters and maybe the LFOs and the effects. And we already have them as the per knob design of the Uno Synth Pro X. That said, if you want to be able to control all the 3 oscillators at the same time, you can always hook up an external MIDI controller and attach that to control the different levels and tunings of the different oscillators. So it's definitely possible, but you will need external gear to control the oscillators at the same time. Although it's nice to perform on the Uno Synth Pro X with the modulation amount, the delay amount and the reverb amount, I still miss some of these performance effects that we had on the original, the good old original Uno Synth, with the dive, scoop, vibro, wah-wah, tremolo and hold. Now I know the real estate of the Uno Synth Pro X is already overfilled with buttons and knobs, but maybe they could use the shift button in combination with copy-paste here to trigger some performance effects, or maybe holding shift and pressing the notes here to trigger the performance effects. That would be awesome if they added something like that in an update. Because as I said, I really miss the original Uno Synth performance effects, because they give a really nice vibe to the sound. Right, so that concludes this video on the Uno Synth Pro X. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions or feedback, and I'll see you in the next video. My name is Mattias, bye.